Jimmy Rankin coming to Far Out Festival in Metegan Station, so a little bit higher up in Metegan, for the first time ever, July 26th, 2025, this summer.
That's correct. Looking forward to it.
Now, let's say you've played in these regions before, like let's say Yarmouth. What's the difference, coming from Nova Scotia, exploring the regions because it's everything's different, I'm sure.
Um, well, Metegan's a Acadian community, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. We all have our different cultures and our different traditions, but we're all Nova Scotians at the end of the day. And I, I think people everywhere, wherever I've played, whether it's Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, East Coast, or right across Canada, people respond to my music in the same way. So, and also playing in Nova Scotia, even though I haven't been to some of these places like Metegan, I've never played before, but I've played in that area, Yarmouth, and um, uh, I have just good memories about playing in these places. And my career spans back, geez, to the late 1980s. It's probably over 30 years. And so people are familiar with Rankin Family music. In some, for some, people still remember those records and those songs and those videos. And then, of course, my solo career has been, I've been doing that since 2000, 2001. I released my first solo record. So my solo career is like over twice as long as the Rankin Family stint. So people relate to both my solo music and the Rankins, which is really good. I have a beautiful, I hate, I have a really extensive back catalog of music and exposure on TV and the internet and everything. So, and I don't know if this is answering question, but um, I love traveling across, discovering new places and playing to new audiences right across the country. And I still really enjoy performing. So I'm very much looking forward to being in Metegan for the
Awesome.
Far Out Festival.
Yeah, it's going to be a pleasure seeing you there. The crowd, um, I'm sure is going to love it. Now, I'm just going to say something here. You got a performance, acoustic performance on your YouTube channel, Fair D Well Love,
Yes.
delivered with as much power than as the Rankin Family, just solo. Um, was it hard for you to find a way to do this solo, like a song like that?
Um, well, all of my songs were written either on piano or acoustic guitar or just just a cappella vocal. And um, I grew up playing basically acoustic music, and I've played thousands of kitchen parties and just hanging out with guitars and stuff. But the difficult thing was going from being in a big Rankin band. We had like a 9-piece band with all the bells and whistles, and the difficult thing for me at that time was making the transition from going from the Rankin Family to a solo career, and you know, uh, making music with just me, and I didn't have to rely on. I couldn't rely on having like my siblings doing harmonies and all that background I was used to. But over time, when I started touring with a band, and then um, over the years, I started uh, the last 10, 15 years, I started doing a lot of acoustic shows, and just basically me and a guitar player and a sound guy. And so I've gotten really comfortable performing with an acoustic accompaniment of guitar or mandolin or whatever. And uh, this show, I'll be taking out a bass player and a fiddler and acoustic guitar player. So it's like a small band. But to answer your question, I don't know. It's almost kind of easier performing vocally like that. You just project differently.
Mm.
And like I said, I've gotten really comfortable doing that. And when you're doing something acoustically like that, you're you're relying just basically on your vocal and your guitar, and if you have a lucky enough to have somebody accompanying you, that's great.
Yeah.
So it's just practice and doing it. And I actually say that I think a lot of the time I enjoy doing that more so than like having a big band behind me where I'm fighting volume, and
Right.
I'm just doing it's very honest and integral and straightforward. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. You have to be dead on, man, when you do it.
Definitely, yeah. Like you have to, I pride myself. I'm a singer, and that's I can't hide behind anything if you're just you and a guitar. So, uh, and I have a lot of experience. You know, two guys doing festivals and playing rinks and things like that. So you just get used to doing it in different venues and but you're right, you have to be on the money, if you're a drummer or a guitar player, or a bass player, and you you can play, and if you don't have to sing, you could be sick and play. But if you're a singer, you're pretty much naked up there. You have nothing to hide behind. So that's the difference, I guess.
And you got to take care of the voice and all this stuff.
All the time, yeah, and it's that can be difficult if you're on the road and you're
Yeah.
tired and you're trying not to. You have to eat properly and you're trying to get rest. And you know, every show generally I'd go out and I always meet my fans and sign stuff for them. And you have to be careful not to get sick.
Yeah, true.
It's really a concern, because like I said, if you don't have your voice, you have nothing. So,
Yeah.
so knock on wood, I'll be okay for the Metegan Festival.
You will. You'll be great. Another thing that I admire is you got interesting looking Gibson in some of your music videos. Can you tell me a little bit about this guitar?
Well, I have a couple of Gibs. I have actually a slew of Gibsons, and they're not as old as they look.
Okay.
They're probably 1990s. I do have one from the 50s. It's a little parlor guitar, Gibson LG, LG1, I believe. But I don't travel with that. But the guitar you're probably thinking about um, is a guitar that was back in the good old days. The Gibson would come to your hotel room, say, "Here, pick your choice of what you want." So I have like a bunch of them, and over the years, I've used all of them on the road. I've taken them out, and the one you're probably seeing is it's a make of a gospel, and it's from the probably early 1990s, and but it's a war road axe.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of battle scars, but it sounds, knock on wood, it sounds good, and it's my go-to instrument. So that's the one I usually perform with live. I'm trying to hold it together. It's had a lot of surgery,
Yeah.
but that's the one you see in a lot of videos. And that other little LG1, I've used that in a number of videos too. It just looks good on camera and stuff.
And it looks good on you as well. And it's like it gives you a certain trademark.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's my guitar. It's my part of my act and the sound of it and the way it feels when I'm playing it. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm trying to hold it together. It's had a lot of surgery over the years.
but sometimes those guitars are the best, and even broken necks, etc. You put them back together, they end up being greater than ever.
True. I've held that one together. When it's in a piece of wood, so you're playing in different places in Canada, and here it's maritime. In the winter they dry out. So I remember a couple of tours I went out on North Ontario, and in the wintertime, and like maybe a Christmas tour, and the air is really dry. And I remember going up on stage and taking one strum, and the whole top of the guitar split. So I was, oh, this is not good. So my tech, who I've been working with, Brad Fox, for over 30 years, grabbed a roll of gaffer tape and he just put the gaff tape on it, and it held for the whole tour.
Wow. Yeah,
And it
and
didn't
also
sound any different. It sounded good.
when you mention stuff like that, when you go play in wintertime, summertime,
Yeah.
temperatures change and drop, every day. In Canada, certainly,
Definitely, yeah. And the farther north you go, it's really dry. Like in the west, it's just horrible on instruments and your voice. So you always feel like you're getting laryngitis. So you constantly have to hydrate. And your guitars, the action will shift. So you have to bring, different little saddles. The action will get really low or really high. So and then you'll take them into the bathroom and run the shower so they can get some hydration in the
right.
bathroom, some steam. But yeah, it's constant to keep them in check and shape. But that's the life of a Canadian musician.
And a Canadian guitar now because it's adopted to you. So, this summer, who you bringing down with for a Far Out Fest for your?
Well, for this one, I have my guitar player Jamie Robinson, who plays multi instruments, bouzouki, electric guitar, banjo, mandolin, and a bass player, Ronald Hines from Newfoundland. I've been working with Ronald for a number of years. And this one's sort of an acoustic band. I think Ron's going to take his big upright bass. And then I have Callan Kinney, originally from Antigonish, who plays fiddle. So yeah, we'll rock it out. That's the kind of uh, uh, entourage or the kind of assembly I like these days as a band. And
Mhm.
all those guys have been working with them for years, so they know my moves, they know the songs. So
And also let's go move on, a little bit to Harvest Highway. This album, I just recently, realized you're working with Joel Plaskett a lot,
yeah,
and that should be very good because he's a new name, for the last 20 years in Nova Scotia and in Canada. I mean, that should be pretty good. I mean, him as a producer, etc.
oh, Joel's fantastic. I made a record with Joel back in, so 2018 or 2019 was my first record with Joel. My first full length record ever made in Nova Scotia. I always maybe recorded bits and pieces here, but and had just moved home from Nashville, and I had like a bag full of songs that were very East Coast centric, and I wanted to make an East Coast coming home record, and so I was I and like an acoustic folky kind of record, kind of a folk rock record, and I was trying to think of who to use as a producer, and I was up at my place in Cape Breton uh, that summer, and I was just pulling out of my driveway and listening to the CBC, and the Joel song came on the record. The light bulb went off and Joel's a songwriter, terrific musician. He's got his own studio in Dartmouth, and he's also a really good producer, and he understands this. He's an East Coaster. He understands this part of the world. So I called him up and I explained to him the kind of record I wanted to make. And the nice thing about Joel too is he's got his foot in the folk
Mhm.
world, and also he's a pop guy. And he's a terrific guy at arranging and all. And he's a songwriter. So we made this record called Moving East, and it's got sea shanties on there and just songs that are very personal, very close to the kind of music and the kind of vibe I like. And we pulled together a band of East Coast musicians, everybody from Ashley McKissick, J.P. Cormier, Hilda Chesson. Who else? We had just a slew of people that came in and played on it, and Joel, of course, played on it. And it was a really fun record to make, and for me, it was like an easy record to make. It was just kind of joyous making this record. I'm home, and I could, instead of being in a strange hotel for a month, I could go to work in the morning. I just drove over the bridge from Halifax, and in the evening I'd come home for supper, and next day do the same thing. And it just worked out really well. All these musicians, you called them up and, oh yeah, I'm passing through, and they would pop in. Ashley happened to be passing through. He came in and laid down a beautiful solo, played some old time Celtic Cape Breton music. And so that record I really liked. And then uh, I wanted to make another record, which turned out to be Harvest Highway, and it was basically the same kind of record, but with some changes, some of the same musicians, and yeah, so it was really fun working with Joel. Yeah, just a really good match, and I really love those records. They're very personal for me. They're totally East Coast. You know, they call them East Coast folk
Yeah,
rock. Yeah,
yeah,
so
but it's got that roots sound of the.
yeah, yeah. And as a songwriter, you can probably hear my inspirations from the people, the bands I listened to over the
Yeah.
the writers and all that. But that's the idea. So, but it's very East Coast centric for me. Everything from the musicians to the songs.
Jimmy, let's say managing home life and touring life, let's say even going back, in the past, has it changed much? Has it, takes a toll on you? How's that work for you? The home life versus, let's say, going and leaving the home for a few
Well,
weeks.
the life of a musician, a traveling musician, it's never easy. There's no balance. Um, but I've been doing it for so long now, and um, so I used to go out for like 6 weeks, and I've done those kinds of tours with the Rankins, but six, you just go out, you start touring across Canada, and it's like, okay, I only have this. I want to reach everybody, and so I would just go for 6 weeks, and that's straight through,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard touring too these days. It's very expensive to tour, so I kind of have a mean, lean machine with a couple of guys, and we go out and drive across the country, um, uh, and then I have my wife and kids. My kids have just finished high school; they're going off to college. But it's always difficult when you have young kids and somebody's home taking care of the kids. And but we survived that. A lot of people don't survive it, but
Mhm.
there's, like I said, there's no real balance. But you just learn how to do it, and hopefully you have a partner who's holding down the fort at home that could
Yeah.
understands. And sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Not absent, absence.
Okay. And let's say too, you do look like you're enjoying yourself with your wife, making some fun videos, Fridays.
Oh yeah, yeah. We do a cocktail and a song.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife, during COVID, who she's not one to sit down and be idle, got her idle. She got her, but we couldn't work, right? All you could do was stuff online. So that got old very quickly. Um, but she got her realtor license, and so she does uh, real estate. So plus, besides that, working with me, which she's done for decades, and so she does this thing. Generally we sit around. Always have ideas about stuff to do, and so she does this thing now where it's cocktail and a song, and we make a cocktail and I'll sing a song and send it out to people, and people are really loving it. We're getting a lot of feedback, and they're well shot and everything, and
They are. What I find with that type of content, it's like produced at home, but it could have been a CBC, back
yeah.
in the day.
Well, that's one thing. Just our experience in like in the music industry. I've made tons of videos and done tons of television shows and all that stuff. I and when it comes to sound and lighting and technical stuff, I'm very particular about that stuff. I don't want it to look second rate. Because that can be easy enough. I mean, you can do some pretty cool stuff with just an iPhone, but it's nice to have nice lighting and just good sound so you can hear what people are saying and all of that. So we're very experienced at that and want to, put that out there.
I'm gonna throw one to you. Cool car. Whose car is it in the music video?
You know what? I don't own a Porsche,
Okay.
not in this life so far, and I'm not really like. I'm not exactly. Some people are car people; they love their cars. Uh, I, but that's one car. If I was to have a nice second, third car, that would be the one, and that was a Porsche 911. And
Okay.
wanted to shoot the video in in Cape Breton on the Cabin Trail, but it was winter, not a very good time to shoot a cool video for the car. So
Yeah.
we got in touch with a friend who's a producer, director, Canadian who lives in California, and we wanted to do a shoot down there. So we went on the is it the number one along? It's a famous highway along the California coast, runs from San Francisco right down to LA, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful highway. So we rented a nice Porsche 911, and I just drove up and down the road trying to look cool.
And it certainly did look cool. And I mean, the scenery looked like Nova Scotia.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the idea, you know. But it was kind of like trying to do like a car commercial, you know, cool car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool car. And it's like I just had to ask because it's like, does Mr. Rankin own a here? An expensive one at that?
I believe you. Once you drive one of those vehicles, it's hard to go back to driving
Yeah.
a regular. But you know, uh, one of these days, I actually would love. My father-in-law used to have a little Porsche from the mid '60s. It was vintage, and oh, he just sort of sat in his yard in New York, and it kind of rusted away. And I always wish that I dragged that back to Nova Scotia because they're collectors' cars now. Those cars I like.
Well, Jimmy, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and great interviewer or interviewee, and I think you're going to have fun in the region, and the audience for Far Out Festival will really appreciate the solidness you deliver.
Well, I'm looking very much forward to being there. It looks like a fun festival. So yeah, it's good. I always try to have a really good time, and especially if people are enjoying what I'm doing, then that makes it even better for me.
Yeah, it's going to be great,
It
and
makes for a better night.
yes. All right. Well, you've been awesome, and we shall talk to you soon.
All right, yeah, nice to speak with you. I'll see you in Batagan.
Yes, absolutely.